Hey everybody, I'm Creed and welcome to Creed Saturday Morning episode 29. And today what I'm working on is a mashup of Masters of the Universe and Catdog. So this is something really different. I'm doing a mashup. It's only my second mashup that I've done, and I plan to do actually a lot more. And the two cartoons that I'm going to combine here are Masters of the Universe, the classic series. There was 130 episodes from 1983 to 1985, made by Filmation for Mattel. The toys come out in 82 with a bit of a story in the mini comics. But the Filmation cartoon really created the Masters of the Universe story and world. And the cartoon combined tech with sword and sorcery.
And the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull, Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe." Only three others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
And the other cartoon in this mashup is Catdog from Nickelodeon. There was 4 seasons, 68 episodes, 134 individual segments from 1998 to 2005. It's sort of a cartoon version of The Odd Couple. Completely different best friends conjoined with no rear bodies. It's a cat and a dog, and Cat is voiced by Jim Cummings, who does the voice of Darkwing Duck, Winnie the Pooh, Dr. Robotnik from Sonic, and the Tasmanian Devil. And Dog's voice is done by Tom Kenny, who does the voice of Heifer from Rocko's Modern Life, which, by the way, is coming back in a special for modern day, so keep your eyes peeled for that. They live in a house shaped like a fish on one side and a bone on the other. And the show concentrates on wackiness and has a lot of funny episodes. So I'm a big fan of both of those shows. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the process as I go. I always start with pencil on paper. Most of my work is digital, but the start is always on paper. I don't know what it is. I need that pencil in my hand to really get the lines where I want them. And as you'll notice, my pencils are pretty much just setting out where my inks go. There's not much difference between my pencils and inks. And I always scan as large as my system can handle. If you'll notice, this is 50% that I'm working on right now. So it's twice this size. So I always work in giant poster size. All I do is make a new layer on top of the pencil layer and use the selection tool. I start with doing the outline, and then I just go through and cut out all the white pieces. So the inks will just be their own thing on their own layer. So the two major tools I use for making my art are really just layers and the selection tool. Anybody can do it, but it's not exactly super optimized for being fast or efficient. When I do it this way, what I'm doing is, and this is all going to be rough inks because that selection tool makes a kind of a blocky line. But then what I do is I go back with the selection tool and I smooth out every little bump and every line, and it can take usually 5 or 6 hours minimum to do a piece. And this one actually took longer because I drew Catdog of the Universe. That's what I'm calling this piece. So I drew Catdog of the Universe. Separately, I drew the Power Sword, and I reused it in this. And separately, I drew Castle Grayskull, and then you'll see I made some alterations, and I made Catdog Grayskull. And this is actually one of my favorite pieces. And if somebody wanted to see my art, this is one of the first ones I would show. Now, when it comes to cartoons, I am mostly an 80s fan. There's more 80s cartoons that I love than any other decade. But a close second would be 90s. And so that's why this is cool. It bridges the gap between my two favorite decades of cartoons. And I was just watching an episode of Catdog, and it kind of, I just started kind of thinking, I was like, Cat could be Battle Cat. And if he's going to be Battle Cat, then Dog's just going to be He-Man. And I went, I really need to draw that. And I get a lot of those ideas. And I usually jot it down, and then it just ends up in a pile on paper somewhere. But this one I went, that's a really good idea that I really like a lot. So I actually started sketching it, and it turned into something really good, I think. And there's a lot of ways you could draw this. Like, I could have drawn He-Man and Battle Cat joined and made them look a little bit like Catdog. Kind of the approach I'm taking is it's Catdog dressed up, but really well. Like, you know, Cat dyed himself green, and, you know, they're going overboard. And the one thing I did play around with in the pencils was giving Dog He-Man's hair, and it looked kind of silly. So I got rid of that. But overall, I really think I come up with exactly something that matched my idea here. So there's the inks on Catdog, and now we're going to show you. Now this is going to be for the background. I want to do their house, and I already had Castle Grayskull drawn. So all I did is leave the middle empty, because that's going to be the Grayskull part, and then the part I'm going to overlap over it is going to be the part that makes it more look like Catdog's house. Their house is really a funny mixture of bone and fish. It was actually this piece that gave me the idea to draw Castle Grayskull, and I was like, well, if I'm going to draw Castle Grayskull, I don't want the first time I draw Grayskull to be Catdog Grayskull. So that's why before this piece I drew Castle Grayskull itself from the original Castle Grayskull that I have here, one of my prized possessions in the world. And then I drew the Power Sword, and then I knew I could use them in this piece. And at this point I wasn't sure about the placement or where I'd put it or how I'd line things up, but I knew that I wanted it in the background. So we'll see how I used it. It's coming along, and of course this video is sped up a lot. And also, I don't record the smoothing out part that I do to the inks, because that's very, very monotonous and time consuming, and it won't make a good video. So I just show the rough inks, and then next time when I show the inks, they'll be all cleaned up. So there we go, that's the overlay, and then here's my Grayskull. I'm just going to place it in there. Make sure everything lines up. And there we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. Catdog Grayskull. There we go, and then we're just going to throw the Grayskull color on it. Now we're going to go through and color Catdog of the Universe. And when I'm throwing colors down, I just pick something close to what it's going to be, because you can adjust all this. And each color is on its own layer. I know normally when people do flats when they're coloring digitally, they usually do it all on one layer. There's actually benefits to having it all on each separate layer. Like if I wanted to select just the red parts, I don't have to go through and select by color. I can just select the layer. Some nice green on Cat here. And it's cool. All it really took was the coloration and the stripes, and then just that helmet, and bam, that's Battle Cat if there ever was one. I'm just going to go through and adjust all the different colors here to what more like what I want. Now I just place the power sword and a little bit of Photoshop magic, layer editing. I can get that right in there to look like he's holding it. There we go. Now I skipped to, now this background was just some stock photo of a field that I ran a lot of filters on and colorized. It really makes the cartoon characters pop. And I changed my coloring technique around depending on the art. I'm still sort of forming the way I want to do it, but mostly what I do is one shade layer, and I don't do a highlight layer. But that one shade layer gives a lot of depth. And when I do a shade layer, I am basically don't care about the rules of light and shadow. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not creating shadows. It goes by where the line is on the paper. It doesn't, I'm not thinking about, well, if there's a light shining this way, I really don't worry about that. So I made some final changes at the end. I took out the built-in shadow from the inks, and I just put in a shadow layer. And that way the white outline isn't interrupted by the shadow, which I didn't notice at first. And then I just sort of put Catdog Grayskull on the hill behind them. And this is actually one of my best pieces I think I've ever done. And I know I've been a little low on updates on this channel. Don't worry, I've not given up on it. But I have given up on the idea of climbing to the top of YouTube, which is sort of an idea I had. Not likely, especially the way the algorithm is now. They want you to upload like 3 videos a week. I won't be doing that. And they want certain lengths. And when I make a video, I make it, I say what I need to say, I show what I need to show, and then that tells me what the length is at the end. Like, I don't decide a length. So this is actually out of the giant folder of footage that I have of probably about 50 different pieces of art. And instead of just doing the next one chronologically, which is sort of what I was doing, I just wanted to jump to this really good one. Not to say the others aren't good, but I really love this one especially. My first mashup I did was very obscure, and I don't think a ton of people would enjoy it. It was Over the Garden Wall, which is decently well known, but then it was also mashed with Thugs on Film, which is sort of very obscure, but awesome. So I loved it, and like a few other people loved it, but most people probably don't know who those guys are. So hopefully this video has given you confidence in the channel, so you're not like, I'm gonna spring clean, and wow, Creed hasn't done anything in a while, I think I'll drop him off. Now keep me on there, keep me on there. And I notice how everybody says to click on the bell icon to get notifications. Don't do that. I use that system for messages. Like if I leave a comment on somebody's channel and they reply back, that's how I'm notified of that. That's not for, hey, there's a new video, for me. So it's sort of like hooking up your toaster to your doorbell for me. Like every time I have new toast, I don't want my doorbell to go off. And that's what that bell icon. That bell icon is for. I use those bell notifications just for talking back and forth with people, not for, hey, there's a new video. But I haven't had a problem with new videos not appearing because they're all on my subscriptions tab, and that's what I use. So I'll be the one guy that tells you, don't click on that bell. That system is not for that. If you like my art and my videos, you will find me. And I want to mention before we go, the center of my little kingdom that I got going on here, such as it is, is actually my Facebook fan page, which a lot of people have given up on Facebook fan pages. Mine is doing fantastic. So check out Infinite Coolness on Facebook, and I'll post a link for that below. So I hope you love Catdog of the Universe as much as I loved making it. And I'm really hoping to have more art videos coming, but I'm actually working on a new fiction video series that is not going to run on this channel, but you will be notified on where to find it. So stay tuned for that if that sounds interesting, but it's just sort of a little too off topic for this channel. I want to thank you all for subscribing. Just recently, this channel has passed 100 subscribers, which actually gets me a custom address, which is what I've been looking for. So that's great. Hopefully I'll have some more videos coming soon. And until then, take her easy.